the thing about Donald Trump is he uncovered a lot of it that they kept hiding, and people didn't want to look at it. And this Trump era forced people to look at it. That's what people hate. KPGT downtown Chicago.
You think he was going to win against Michelle and Newsom?
Oh, you mean Michael?
Big Mike.
Michael Obama?
The big Mike Obama, yeah.
What a joke, man. You gotta be kidding me, man. What a joke. What a They're sick people, man. These people are sick. They kill people. Just like that movie personality, what was her name? Phyllis or whatever. She said that Michael was a transvestite. Everybody knows, and blah blah blah. She's getting on board this plane or whatever in her travels, spending the time with the Obamas, and she gets killed immediately after that at the doctor's office, her personal doctor's office. I mean, come on, man. These people are killing people. We're killing people left and right. It's nothing to commit murder. If you read those mails that were taken by WikiLeaks, the word 86, do you understand what that means? It deals with wet work and taking out people. And when they talked about Seth Rich and they talked about other people, they mentioned 86.
Well, that's how they clear the track. They see that freight train coming, they get the hell out the way. They don't want to get killed.
We're totally under siege, and don't let nobody kid you about it or bullshit you. What you see is what it is. Don't let nobody try to tell you either that the sky is a different color than what it is, because that's what they've been doing for a long, long time. Everybody wants to paint happy pictures. There's nothing happy about any of this shit.
Well, the problem is they can make it cloudy. They can make you have a cloudy day if they want to. Now, that's the problem.
Yeah, if the sky is blue, they'll tell you it's black. Don't believe what's coming out of the news media. It's all disinformation. Obama signed the bill when he was in office that allowed the news media to disinformation the public. The White House is doing it. Everybody's doing it. They made it legal to do it.
Well, you know, back during the Clinton administration, he's the one. If I'm not well, I might be wrong. It used to be the media. The media, you could only own 3 outlets per market, and then the Democrats changed that, and so you've got the conglomerated media now. That could not have happened before.
It's all under siege, my friend. Every bit of it. It's part of an extension of the CIA, and the CIA's been working ops on us for a long time. And they've been doing black ops on American people. There's no doubt in my mind that they run these psych ops on us all the time.
Yeah, and the FBI is like the KGB now.
Worse. This country's under siege, man. No doubt about it. There ain't no mistake about it either.
gonna do, Todd?
The only thing that we can do is everybody's going to have to pay attention to these elections, and we're going to have to focus on your congressmen and everybody that they can emphasize that these elections be controlled where they can't be fooled with the mail-in ballots is a big one. That's like a joke to our society, mail-in ballots, in the way they're doing it. I mean, I had 4 or 5 different ballots here during that COVID thing from people that didn't live in my building for over 10 years.
I think it's going to take...
And I know as a kid, when I was a kid, that they were fooling with the Kennedy vote during his election. Simple ballots at the time stacked at the back door of the school where people were going in for the voting, and they decided they had enough votes and they didn't need them, and they hauled them back in a truck. And I was riding my bicycle and overheard them talking this.
I went to the landfill.
They had them in preparation that they didn't have enough votes to clinch that Kennedy elections, and they had simple ballots. They've been running that for a long time. Where it was actually brought up in the public eye is the Gore administration when they brought it over to the Supreme Court, simple ballots, blah, blah, blah. That's why they got rid of those machines. It's not because of the machines. It's because they bring in these ballots all the time and throw off everything.
So they had the same kind of mail-in ballot situation that we do now in the 60s?
Yeah, it was exactly the same. But you have to show ID, and you're going to be out of the country. Like if you're a serviceman or something like that, you're out, and you can't be at the election. You can vote with a mail-in, but you have to prove who you were. That was the thing. That was the key, and everything is sealed to you, and sealed back. That's why that's one of the reasons they don't open up the military ballots right away from people overseas, because they know how those votes are going to come in.
The whole problem is justice. We don't have any. The whole problem is at the Department of Justice, and it's because we don't have any. There's no integrity there, okay? If we had equal justice for everyone, regardless, without exception, without fail, then the system would work just fine. But all the crime that occurs is because it's with the full knowledge of the FBI, the Department of Justice. I mean, if that's not apparent to everyone at this point, I don't know what to say, but they cover up, and they actually are involved in blackmailing people. This goes back to J. Edgar Hoover, who realized it was better for him to blackmail powerful people than to put them in jail. And he had dossiers on everyone. And that's what Comey tried to do. He tried to blackmail Trump with the fake T-tape or whatever it was, the fake Steele dossier. And that's why he was fired, because he tried to blackmail his president. Trump wasn't having any of it. But that's the problem. You need honest cops. And that's what's going to take. What's going to have to happen at some point, is the people are going to have to go to the Department of Justice. We're going to have to march. It would only take a couple million people show up at the DOJ demanding reform. That's what it's going to take, because it's not going to reform itself. They're not going to do it themselves. I mean, there's this vast web of corruption, dirty money, drugs, sex trafficking, all this stuff is going on. The rich and famous and powerful, and that's not going to fix itself, and the only place that you can logically go and attack it in the most effective way that would topple the entire thing is to have an honest Department of Justice, an honest federal police. Elliot Ness, that's who I'm talking about, Boy Scouts, all right, who are after the bad guys. Restore justice, equal justice for all without exception, and everything else would take care of itself. You get the corruption out, and the system invented by the founders would work just fine.
You do realize that all that you mentioned all starts with the elections. Okay, that all starts with the elections. Do you realize Chicago hasn't had a Republican Party here for at least 50 years in town? Nowhere. Do you realize the last alderman that was a Republican in this town was murdered and shot with a shotgun? That was the last guy, and this whole city and then the state has been under siege, piece by piece by piece, okay? And it all starts with the elections. The elections are been faked all the way back when I was a kid. I'm telling you, all the way back from the Kennedy administration. And they have a big problem trying to steal an election with an overwhelming vote. That's a big problem. But with these Dominion machines and everything else, they're able to shave votes and things like that, and that's been proven. So it all starts with elections. If whether or not people are going to stand up and insist that only Americans are voting in this election, and only in one place, because they'll vote here and then they'll go to another state and vote over there.
Hunger Games.
Got to secure the elections. That's where it all starts with. That's why you got every alphabet group is corrupted right now. Every one of them. IRS, CIA, FBI, all of them are under siege, and they've been under siege since the 60s. Trump has just brought it all out, is all it is.
Hunger Games.
You got to secure those elections. That's the most important thing.
Well, how are you going to do that? I mean, how are you going to keep the commies from cheating this time?
You got to write. You got to report, and immediately. And you know what? Here's the thing. They don't want people investigating in the elections. You can't look at those ballots. They don't want people to see the ballots. They don't want people to verify those ballots. That's got to change.
Do you think the bureaucracy will be defeated then this November?
Can't watch the count. You can't do anything. And any cameras that we had in that place that they didn't realize were on, we saw corruption going on, okay? But that's only one instance, It's widespread. That's the problem.
Well, you got to give the Democrats this. They put a lot of effort into deceiving the people.
It's called treason.
Commies are good.
Treason. There ain't no other word for it. Treason. And you know what? At some point, if we can secure an election, you know, they're going to get their just reserve. If we don't secure the election and it continues going down the path over here, get your guns and ammunition ready, because that's where it's going to lie.
Well, when they impeached and they threw out of office, they tried to stop the ballots for Lincoln. What did that create? We had a civil war.
Oh, absolutely, and they know damn well that that's going to do it, but they push everything to the limit. And you know what? It seems like they're instigating a civil war so they can declare martial law in this country and really secure the election.
That's why I say it's got to be a peaceful march. I mean, you know, personally, I would like to see a peaceful march where every man had a rifle slung on his shoulder, but it's going to have to be a peaceful march, because the Civil War would be, you know, a disaster beyond imagination. It would be horrific, you know, and it would play right into our enemies' hands, because while we fight each other, all our enemies would attack as one, and we would, you know, they'd destroy all of us. You know, so that's got to be prevented, but I think that's part of the communist plan. They want that to happen. They're trying to instigate civil war.
Well, that's why they've brought all these here foreigners here, so they can join the mob squad and shoot the American people.
Oh yeah, a lot of them are all military age, man. Don't make no mistake about it, man. We're in trouble, fellas. And not talking about it, how serious the matter is a real big problem. That's the worst thing we can do, is not talk about how serious this problem is in our country.
That's right.
Well, I can just tell you that all these movies they've made in the past were about futuristic things, Star Wars, flip phone. And then you got Hunger Games. Think about Hunger Games. What was that based upon, and why?
Well, you see, they've been controlling us economically. That's why they borrow more money. They enslaved everybody here, Darren. They enslaved everybody. By running the debt as high as they've done, we're enslaved economically enslaved to that debt by borrowing more money. And that's what the result is in the stores right now. You go buy an automobile, go buy groceries. It's incredible.
Well, what you do is you just, you know, and it may sound terrible, but I mean, it happened before, you know, during the Depression. You just declare bankruptcy and you start over, and you tell these countries that you owe money to, like China, that we're not paying you, man.
Well, that's what's going to have to happen. You know, and unfortunately, in order to do that, we'll have to change up currency and everything when we do. And I'm not talking about going to digital either. We need regular greenbacks. Like Abraham Lincoln put out the greenback. Look in history. This is one of the reasons why they killed him. Because he produced the greenback. $1 did not go to the Treasury. It went back to the government. And with that, he paid the Civil War off. They don't even want to talk about the greenback. That's why it's always been an expression in the United States, the greenback. It was from Abraham Lincoln's era.
Well, they're going to have to do something. There's no doubt about it, because something else I've noticed, I don't know if everybody else has, but the wildlife population is depleting rapidly, and people don't take account of that thing. Oh, no, there's all kinds of them on the road. Yeah, these animals that are getting hit on the road have always been hit on the road, but you go into the woods and different things like that, and they're not there as much as they used to be. This year, man, the deer population was down, but you read all these diseases that are killing the deer all over the continent. There's a reason for this, and then it's not just the deer that are starting to die off and be infected, but a lot of different animals. You know, they're taking the food away, the resources. You know, you can see it in the stores, you can see it in the woods. You know, Hunger Games.
Well, there's something going on with that there, and, you know, there's something to be said, because wild animals are coming up into the city areas over here. And usually wolves and those kind of animals, they stay away from people. And it's very, very unusual that they end up right in the middle of town, walking around, you know, and we've had that, and there's video cameras of it all over YouTube.
Well, like I said, the animals are not thinking correctly, and, you know, we need to start thinking about, you know, the truth is, has chemtrails been underrated?
I don't know, but I've seen those damn things myself, and they're not vapor trails either.
Well, I think a lot of people just want to bury their head in the sand because the alternative is too scary for them, you know, and it's just the way it is, you know, and I hate to say it, but the American people have been dumbed down. The fluoride in there has made them more docile, and we are a weak country right now, weak.
Yeah, it's because of all the birth control medicine.
I'm telling you, man, all of it, every bit of it, inch by inch, piece by piece, everything has been dabbled with.
That's right.
It just didn't get to this point in a snap of the fingers. It's been going on inch by inch. Fluoride's been instituted to us for about 50 years now, maybe 60.
Well, it's taken that long to herd them up, you know what I'm trying to say? We've been herded up. And the simple fact is, we can talk about this all we want. Nothing's going to change. You know that just as well as I do. You know, I mean, you're going to have a small group of people that are going to be considered radicals, and they're just going to make fools of the people that still have common sense. That's their whole entire agenda. Separate the mass where they're powerless.
If we don't secure those elections, trust me, we're going to have a civil war here, man.
They're going to affect people through their finances and their food. And you'd be surprised how many people will bring in their stuff and say, here you go, give me a loaf of bread.
Like I say, Darren, if we don't secure the election, and I mean but fast, we're going to end up in a civil war here, because people are not going to enjoy being in this captivity.
Well, I believe this here. Now, there may be some that don't like to hear this, but I think the Republican and the Democratic Party have the same agenda. I don't think there's a difference. I think they're still trying to make people believe that there's two parties, and I don't believe there is.
Well, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. It's the establishment. That's what Trump Nation is against.
Yeah, well, you got to watch their actions more than their speech.
Well, let's put it this way. If they wanted to as many Republicans as there are spread out, I mean, across the nation. If you look at, you know, the voting when it goes on, all the red states and all the blue states, there's more red states than there are blue states. They say, well, listen, you know how easy it would be to control the cities and lock them down? Very, very easy. But they don't do that for the simple fact that's not part of their narrative. They don't want that. They want mass chaos, control through chaos. And that is, I forgot who had that, but that was part of the communist regime's narrative. And it's coming to America.
Oh yeah. Like I say, this is probably going to be our last hurrah. If we don't stand up and secure these elections, we're going to end up, I swear, we're going to end up in a civil war in this country, man. We're moving into that direction, man. There's no two ways about it. People are not going to be put up losing their homes, not being able to feed their families, and it's going to force them into it. You know, we're going to be forced there. That's why this gun grab is going on.
Let's put it this way. If you don't know how to make bread, if you don't know how to hunt and trap and this and that there, you're pretty well screwed. If you live in the city, you're screwed. If you live in suburbia, you're screwed. If you don't live out in the country, you know, you don't have a chance. Even the people in the country, because we're going to have people wanting to migrate from the cities out here, you know, it's going to be bad for everybody, man. It's not going to be, no picnic.
It's going to be all over the place, Darren. You think you got a sanctuary because you're in the country? No. There's just too many. What I see coming through Chicago, Darren, it'll make you sick. What's going through New York, it will make you sick. These people are not going to stay there, okay? You got to understand, they're not going to stay here in Chicago. They're not going to stay here. They're going to be moving. They're going to be moving around. Once they're over here, they're going to be moving around. They got dropped off over here, okay? They're going to get connections, and they're going to be moving around. All these people that are going to be here for a war effort, they're moving around. They got places to go.
Oh, I agree. That's what I'm trying to say. There is not going to be no safe place. You know, I mean, there is no safe places. Trust me, I know that this is not a complete sanctuary. I'm getting to see what's going on from right here and how it's affecting the rural areas. And when there's nothing left in the city, they're going to migrate this way. There's no doubt. And, you know, the only thing I can say is that this is the last stand. The last stand in America. Now, they better stand, and they better stand strong, or they're going to just swallow the Kool-Aid.
Well, a lot of states are trying to keep them out. Florida's doing their damnedest to keep them out of there. But, you know, what we ended up with that Maria, that Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, the devastation there forced people out of there, and they came to Florida from Puerto Rico, and they went right to Orlando because that's where the largest Spanish community was prior to that. Now that whole city around Disneyland and all that is Democratic. It changed in that one area because all those people that came from Puerto Rico stayed. And that's the thing, because Puerto Rico is part of the United States. So if they stay here, then they vote like they do when they're over there. They're all Democrat over there. No matter how the government treats them, and they know it, you know, they go along with the bullshit, and they're all Democratic, and they're going to vote that way over here, definitely. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, like I said, for a few loaf of bread. But, you know, these Democrats, you know, not the office holders, but the general public, the Democrats, it's going to backfire on them. And then they're going to realize it, and it'll be too late, and then we'll be under a different kind of siege. And people are going to find out, man, in the end. They're just going to find out that this will not work. You can't have 2% of the people working, supporting, you know, the 98% that are just going to lay around. It ain't going to work.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know, if the GDP is down in the country and you're borrowing more money than the GDP is able to produce, well, what is that dollar worth?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So the only way to get out of this is tell China, we're not paying you, man, we're done. Take your stuff like they did to us in Panama. Say, take your stuff and get the hell out of here, and that's the end of it. That'll create a war. You know it will, but China's going to feel the pinch financially because a lot of people are dependent on that interest money coming in over there.
Yeah, well, you know, like I say, if we don't secure this election, then it goes the other way on us. And these people remain in control, and we're not able to prosecute these people that are DOJ and FBI and all that and clean this place up and uncover all the files that the FBI has.
And put an embargo up, and we'd be just fine.
And just
China might not like that. They don't even probably like me hearing me say that, what I'm saying, but I don't really give everything. It would work.
Chips fall where they fall, and prosecute these pricks. And I don't know if the American people got enough gumption for that much treason.
I don't think they do.
Well, we're going to have to develop it. Otherwise, this country's going to be screwed. We're all going to be under ball and chain.
Well, the difference between now and the 30s, when the Depression took place in the late 20s, is that we are a demoralized country. We have no morals and scruples now, so it's going to be a lot worse.
You're absolutely right. You see what's going on. You got a bunch of people running around in women's clothes and thinking they're a different sex because they're dressed like Halloween.
I mean, you got people screwing on the table in the Senate. I mean, what the heck?
That's right. That I was telling that the other day. You know, it's so sickening. I've had it. You know, I've had it all the way up to here because I see it all. They can't jump on TV and get on the camera, and I look at their face when they're talking. They can't fool me. That's the problem I have. I see it. They can't talk, and I don't know if it's bullshit or not. I can tell the difference. Some people can't. Okay. But I know immediately, right then and there. I may not say anything, okay, but I know when it's bullshit and when it's not, almost immediately. And that's a big problem I have because a lot of people don't believe me when I say, hey, that's just bullshitting right there. Don't go along with this, you know, because they got them fooled. The brainwashing got them fooled, and I see it. I see it every day in our news media and everything.
Well, that's the reason why they sidestep. They can't give a yes or no answer. They always say, well, you know, I can't do this. I don't have that information. But you're in charge. You don't have the information. Then you're disqualified. You know, I mean, but people swallow it. Why? Because the narrative is that they're working for a Democrat, and if they go against it, even though deep down inside they know it's wrong, that their loaf of bread will be taken away from them. They're selling their country out for a loaf of bread.
Yeah, the country's under siege, Daryl. The country's under siege. There's no other word for it. Really, honest to God. I've looked at this thing up and down. There's no other words for it. We're under siege. And what now, right now, our Congress is trying to grasp whatever they can of our freedoms and trying to hang on to them right now. And our biggest problem is going to be securing these elections. Because if we can't secure them, they're going to continue on doing what they're doing. I know damn well these elections are jimmied. Everybody knows it. And they have to be. We have to tighten the screws down on that. That's just about it. That's all it is. It's what it comes down in a nutshell. And these people that are counting the votes and all that, they're incredible treasonous bastards that are doing all this under the table shit. You know.
So how are you gonna stop that?
W090 at the bottom.
Well, you know, there's got to be some quick legislation put in place to secure this thing. Because if we don't, we're going to end up in civil war. Honest to God, the country cannot go this corrupt and exist. We cannot go forward. People don't understand. In spite of whatever happens out there, we can't move forward as a nation or a people or anything with this kind of corruption at this point. Any day forward that this country moves is senseless because we haven't straightened out the problem.
Let me ask you a question.
That's
do you
what
own
I'm
your
talking
house?
about. That's how bad it is.
Todd, do you own your house?
Got a couple of them.
Do you own them outright?
Yeah.
Well, you got a little bit better of a chance. But let me ask you a question. Let's say that the government, which we really are, I mean, it's a false economy, goes belly up and they say, listen, we have no more money for anybody. What are you going to do?
Well, you know, I'm in the trades business, and there's always been an economy being in the trades because they haven't been able to robotic it. They can't snap their fingers and it's done. I mean, everybody that's got an internet these days are under the illusion, and everything happens in a snap of the fingers. It doesn't happen that way in real life, and it doesn't happen that way in brick and mortar, no matter how they cut the ice. You're going to have people that can raise agriculture. Between the two, we've held this nation up with the trades and the agriculture. All the rest really doesn't mean shit.
Okay, so we went through the Depression back in the 20s and the 30s. What do you think that this regime has learned about those people that were able to capitalize on that? And do you think that they've made any contingent plans to capitalize on the capitalizers that you know, made it through it so that way they stayed in control? Again, I'll reiterate, there's no more money. What are you going to do?
Well, Darren, like I say, we can go to a barter situation in a lot of people, but a lot of people that can't barter, you know, things are going to be failing all over the place, you know, if that's the case. But, and the only reason that'll happen if they seize an election. If they seize another election here, our country won't withstand that. And is what I'm saying. And the people are going to result into who's responsible for this, you know? And of course, everybody's going to look at the people that are in office that this happened to, you know? And they're going to blame that guy. But you know, it goes back them working their way to get the country to this point. It's going to end up, Darren, it's going to end up in a civil war. There's no two ways about it. It's going to end up in the civil unrest. There's no way that it can't. You got too many alpha males still running around, man. It's going to end up in a civil unrest.
Well, I understand that, and I agree. I guess what I'm getting at, I'm trying to corner you to answer a question, and that is, what are you going to do? What do you have to barter that we need for life-sustaining substance? Because we're not going to be able to trade our radios. We're not going to be able to trade our office equipment. We're not going to be able to trade our, whatever we have, because people are going to be starving and they have nowhere to live.
Well, since 1971, I've maintained a warehouse of HVAC equipment and electrical equipment, and I could probably put in I got enough stuff out there to put a few services in if I need to. I'm old though, I'm already in my 70s, I'm not going to go anywhere. The only thing I can hope for is to just survive, and a lot of people, it's going to be the same way. It's going to be the young people that's going to be involved in this civil war, mostly. And, and it's all you can do is protect whatever you got, and try to protect whatever you have. That's all you can do. I'm too old to jump into this. If this happened back in the 70s or the 60s, yeah, I would have been all good, you know what I mean? But, oh no, it's all I can do is sit back and watch it all, armchair generally,
Well, and that is my point. So now I'm glad you said that. So, with that being said, if you really truly believe that this is coming down the pike, we have an opportunity now to prepare for those things, and that's exactly the point. That's the reason we have old people journaling, They're not out there in the fields, they're journaling, and people are going to have to be able to do that also, and you're going to have crews that you can entrust, and otherwise these younger little mobs are going to just come in and absorb what these people have. And that's my point, is that we need to think beyond what's just going on, but what are we going to do when? Because just as well as I do, is this is the turning point. This is where we're heading, and this is the direction that we're heading, and there is no dodging the bullet.
Oh, I know. And for a lot of good people, we're going to have to be able to communicate, because everything will be shut down most likely, with one group and another group, and that to pass information, because you're not going to get information from the news media. That's going to be nothing but propaganda coming out of that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That's what's happening now already.
Well, I would suggest people to build facilities, storage facilities, and places to go that are, the best place to hide stuff is right out in the open. And that's what needs to be done, man. People need to prepare for what's the onslaught that's getting ready to happen. And they're going to let us war against ourselves. They don't want us to bring the war. I mean, we peacefully marched on the Capitol, and they called it a siege. And that was a bunch of But anyways, they don't want that. They want us to war within ourselves, and that's what they're pushing for, and it's working. Like I said, you know, I mean, control through chaos.
Yeah, we voted our rights away, and we allowed them to get so corrupt, and people kept their eyes closed to the corruption, and this is why we're under siege right now. And nobody wants to open their eyes and actually look at this damn thing. You know, they're going to listen to CNN or these other news agencies and sit there, continue to take in this brainwashing. A lot of people quit watching TV. They watch YouTube. They don't even watch TV anymore because of the brainwashing. Day in and day out, they're pumping brainwashing in. Pfizer, all these drugs, male sex, men kissing. I mean, the TV shows, it's gone completely outrageous, and profanity being used on TV. Like you say, the moral values in the country have gone down to shit, man, in no time at all.
You can take out the politicians.
Well, you can do that, but then these people have been bridled for so long. The American people have been bridled for so long that they can't even make decisions on their own. I mean, look at what's going on. Seriously, if you was to take out all the politicians, do you think it would change the stupid people?
They've been brainwashed so long, man, that and we've been fed fluoride for the last 60 years, and it's getting worse and worse the longer this goes on.
We're like cattle, man. We're like cattle. When the dinner bell rings, they come running. That's all they know. They've been reprogrammed. People don't know how to go out and grow a sustainable garden and, you know how to culture. You know, how many people know how to make yeast? You know, there might be a few of us out here that do, but the average person, don't you ask them where they get milk, or they say at the store.
Well, yeah, because they never had to do it before, or they weren't around their grandma that did it. I don't know. My grandparents. My grandfather, he had a farm in Italy, and they used to had an olive orchard, and they had pigs and things like that growing there. You know, so he knew all about cultivation, but he wanted out of that life so bad, man. But you know, they had no equipment back in those days. You know, I mean, their biggest power motor was a mule.
You know, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, those are what we're going to go back to, you know. And people don't know how to be pioneers. They just don't. And they're going to be screwed because they don't know how to do nothing. I mean, if you ask a person, if you can't go to the pharmacy and get antibiotics, what would you use? Do you know where to go out in the woods and forage for antibiotics? What weed can you pick to make an antibiotic? What bark can you peel to get aspirin? And they're clueless. They're clueless.
Well, a lot of people don't know anything about survival techniques. But although there are organizations that popped up all over the place, you know, and they try to keep a secret, you know, they try to keep a secret of their thing, and they practice guns. They have guns hidden, and they practice all kinds of survival techniques. Everybody's involved, the whole families of these people, and they're all over the place. There's groups all over the place that are out there. You know, there's already people that know the same thing what I'm telling you, that we're under siege, and the writing is on the wall.
And I agree, but some of those people will be taken out. Some of those people, the good ones that you're talking about, will be taken out by the mobs. And there's a lot more people that don't know nothing. You can't stand alone, So I mean, there's chances that those people will be overtaken, and eventually what is going to happen is those resources will be gone because the knowledge is gone. Because the people that are doing that there, when if you're sick and I have the cure and somebody finds out that I cured you, they're gonna either take my supplies, or when I don't want to help them because I don't have enough resources to take care of my own, I gotta take care of everybody else. I've been depleted, so they want to create revenge and take what I have and take my life, and then all of a sudden that is no longer part of society no more. You've taken all that knowledge and it's gone. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be bad. People need to start learning how to do and take care of themselves and have a sustainable life, even if it's in the city. It don't matter. You can grow little itty bitty gardens. The thing of it is, are you going to be able to protect it from somebody who don't want to? And there's too many don't want tos out there.
Oh, I know. There's a lot of smart individuals, that are out here that could help with survival techniques and pass the information. We have to be like what rats do. You teach one to the other, so more can come through. And we have to do back to basics, because the kids today, the girls in school, they're not learning home economics. They're not learning, the woman runs the house, and if she hasn't gone through home ec and know how to deal with feeding a family and know the nutrition that family has to have to keep going, and the woman plays a big part in that household, man, of raising a family. And if they're not trained into doing that, and they lose their moral values and moral compasses, so to speak, families are not going to be surviving all over the place.
Well, that's the reason why there's so many restaurants, because they've already lost it.
Be sure about that. But that's a big problem. But we're going to have to, in the future coming up as a survival technique, you're going to have to pass that information to another person so they can survive. And you're actually helping somebody by showing them how to help themselves. If you can do that, Darren, and if you can do that, Darren, you've helped them. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to feed them. You show them the way. That's all they really need. And people are smart, man.
They are, but they lack effort. That's the reason why our country is in the turmoil that it is in. Is we went from we had to get up and turn the channel on your TV if you wanted to watch something different, to just sit there in the lazy boy and push the button. People like it simple, and they don't have the means. Men are not men. Do you think that the people today could be pioneers and cross the country and plow fields with horses and cut up and dig out stumps and clear fields? Do you honestly think the people today can do that? They would give up. They would sit there and just die.
Well, you don't have to do a whole field to feed a family. You don't have to do a whole field to do your family. If you're going to feed many families, then you need to do a field. Okay? And back in the old days, communities got together and cleared the field, and they shared the food.
I agree, but this is the thing. We've not been taught how to share. We've not been taught how to intermingle. I mean, people have been deprogrammed. I mean, families sit across the table from each other, and instead of saying something, they'll text each other. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I'm not being hypercritical. I'm being for real, man. I mean, society is lost, dude. We are at the end of the leg.
I think when the smoke clears, we'll be able to rise up out of the ashes, the remaining ones that'll be able to outsmart the elements, that's going to be coming down. I just don't like the beginning of it. The beginning of it is going to be a bloody mess, Darren.
Absolutely, I agree.
Long before that starts happening,
and teaching
the bullets are going to start
stuff
flying.
like that. But you can only help those that are willing to learn. Those that are there just to take your resources, you're going to have to move them along somehow, whatever way that may be.
The bullets are going to start flying long before the food runs out.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Well, I think we've beaten this horse enough. I think we all know what we're supposed to, but there's, it's going to have to take something in order to get people off their backside. And that is when they say, hey, listen, man, you know what? We're shutting your electric off. You're going to have to leave your home. Then people are going to rise up. But as long as there's a loaf of bread on the table, it is what it is.
Well, here's, like I said, Darren, we need to focus on election integrity at this point. And if we don't do that, and we can't get that election secured and get our man in there to put in a new justice and so we get justice, then it's gonna go to the streets, Darren. I'll tell you that it's not gonna. The bullets are gonna start flying long before we run out of food.
Well, I believe this here. I don't think if you put Trump in there or whoever, I think that's coming down the pike. Whoever takes over. Well, that's where we're at. That is exactly where we're at in accordance to time. That's where we're at. It don't matter who you put in office. He's only one man. He don't have the power to make it all happen. He was kind of a lame duck while he was in there. Even though he had a lot of brilliant ideas, he knew how to fix the country financially. The upper echelon don't want it, and that's what we're up against. And, draining the swamp is a great idea, but you got to have all the equipment to do that. And one man by himself, he just don't have that ability. His own party fights against him, And that's the sad part about it is that people, they've deprogrammed us to stick together as a team. There is no team players. Everybody's a winner.
I think, Darren, we know Trump is a tough guy and everything. He's a builder. He built skyscrapers, for crying out loud. Okay, to do that's like impossible. Okay, there's so much to know to build a skyscraper. People have no idea, and it's all he's been dealing with is the political corruption that he had to deal with building these things. Okay, you got to pay off this guy, you got to get that cleared. Everybody's got their hands out, right? That's how it goes. And that's the only corruption he's dealt with. Probably on a pretty big scale because he's built big buildings. You know what I mean? and built in other countries as well. But the thing is, he didn't have any idea how bad these people were. He didn't know. And he knows now that they're capable of committing murder and seen them in action. So immediately when he gets in there, guess what? Everybody's fired, right? Everybody. He ain't gonna make that mistake and keep people hanging around from that other administration or any of that. He's gonna have to put his own hand-picked people in there. And in order for him to do that, we need control of that Senate.
Let me check this email.
Yeah, we gotta have both houses, and we need that presidency. That's the only way you're gonna get that kind of power to eliminate this corruption.
Talking away, and I forgot. I said, hey, it's time to get over here, so I came over on frequency. I'm glad to catch you before you head to your farm. Everything is going well, and you got your meds. Tell me you got your meds and everything went smooth.
No, I didn't go smooth. I had to take half doses. I had to get half the dose. But anyway, I got the meds late this afternoon.
Oh, boy.
All right, we're back. You still there? W90. Nothing heard, W90.